What's up, guys? My name is Aaron. I'm going to be reviewing A Wrinkle in Time. This movie is directed by Ava DuVernay, and it stars Storm Reid, Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, Mindy Kaling, and Chris Pine. Basically about this young girl who, with the help of 3 astral travelers, sets off on a quest to find her father who went missing after discovering a new planet. This usually wouldn't be the type of movie I would kind of go for. Like, this seems like a kid movie basically, but the visuals look pretty stunning in the trailers and stuff, and I saw that this was directed by Ava DuVernay, a director that I love, and it was really cool to see her do like a big budget movie like this, so I was looking forward to this, and the cast is pretty stellar as well. This movie is kind of like a really big mixed bag for me. I think I kind of ended up liking it a little bit, but there's like a lot of flaws with this movie for every positive there is, so I'm just gonna kind of go through it one by one. The visuals, when they're on point, they're just absolutely stunning. I think when the movie really mixes the practical sets and locations with the more fantastical stuff is where the movie is really at its strongest. Like the first plains and grass planet they go to on this all-white futuristic set, a scene where we see in the trailer with Chris Pine with the trippy orange set, but especially like the suburban Norman Rockwell-esque nightmare sequence that you see all the trailer where the kids are like bouncing the balls in unison. That thing was like almost scary to me. Visuals are really phenomenal when they work, but when they kind of go to like an entirely green screens, it looks cheesy and takes you out of the movie basically. Especially like there was like a sequence with Zach Galifianakis. Like I couldn't take any of that seriously because it didn't look authentic or real at all. It's a really weird movie with a lot of interesting and neat details, like a red-eye man that Michael Peña plays, and like the aforementioned suburban nightmare sequence that I thought was really effective. But then it'll kind of do like unnecessarily quirky stuff, like Mindy Kaling's character basically speaks entirely in quotes, and I'm not even kidding, like 90% of her dialogue is quotes, and I was like, is this an actual book? I'm not familiar with the book, and I thought that was just kind of weird. And like Oprah being the size of a building, kind of a cool quirk, but I was like, why? You know what I mean? I think the acting for the most part is solid across the board. For the adults, I think Chris Pine comes across with its strongest, with like kind of the meatiest role as Meg's missing father. You can kind of see like the dimension that he plays as a father and what he's trying to accomplish with the Tesseract stuff. I don't think this kind of really worked without Storm Reid as Meg. I think she's really perfectly awkward and insecure in a way that kind of feels authentic to being like a teenage girl. And I think that she really kind of naturally displays like the character's thoughts and feelings. And I generally believed her story arc because I think Storm Reid is pretty solid for the most part. I think most of the other kid actors are pretty good as well. I think Levi Miller as Meg's love interest didn't take me out of the movie, I would say. And I think Rowan Blanchard, who I know from Girl Meets World, she was Meg's bully in this movie. I thought she was pretty good and had some dimension. Probably would have liked a little bit more explored with that. The kid playing her kid brother was some of the worst child acting I've ever seen. Like, I don't usually like kid acting in the beginning, but just the type of character he was playing, this like genius kid that knew everything basically, and the way that he was saying some of his lines was just so cloying and kind of overly precocious. I really couldn't take it seriously at all, and there is a third act shift in his character that kind of highlights how much of a bad actor he is, and it just became like a living nightmare to kind of sit through. And I cannot hear the name Charles Wallace again. Like, it's just so annoying to me at this point. I do think the messages this movie puts out are important, like perseverance through the dark times, believing in yourself, accepting your flaws in yourself, and kind of making them your strengths. There's a lot of messages like that kind of in the same vein. I think some of those messages hits at times, like a kind of subtle point about biracial identity, and it kind of is really sold because I think Reid's acting is pretty good in that scene, but I think the script is so heavy-handed and cliched that it kind of comes across like a corny TED Talk. So while I don't really necessarily disagree with what the movie is kind of throwing down, it's not really communicated in an organic way, and it just kind of almost talks down to the audience. So I'm just like, okay, like I get it, but it doesn't really like leave like a strong impression on you outside of this movie does have messages. I think even though this movie is basically at odds with itself with every single good idea it has, I kind of liked it and respected it for how different it was, especially for being a movie that's aimed at children. I take 5 more of these before any further entries into the Transformers or Pirates of franchises. Like this is so much more interesting to me as a blockbuster movie. Overall, I'll give this like a 6 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie for sure, but I think it's a movie that is different, visually stunning at times, and I do think the acting for the most part is good, and I do respect the messages the movie has, and I think Ava DuVernay does show a flair for the camera work, but it was just kind of a mess that works at times, doesn't work at times. So yeah, those are my thoughts on A Wrinkle in Time. What are your guys' thoughts? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments what you thought, and thanks for watching. Thanks guys. Bye.